For people who want to know what is the Keith Andrew Network, the whole point of my talk show is to show you that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, so prove them and still amount to something.
Hi, I'm Seattle actor Jennifer Corbridge, and I am very happy to be joining you on the Keith Andrew Network. And let's keep art alive, and let's keep talking, friends.
Hi, my name is Amy Zubieta. I'm an actress in New York, and I am super excited to be here with the Keith Andrew Network, bringing conversations and communications all about arts and films, and maybe some curveballs your way, and see if you respond. All good stuff. Thanks for joining.
Hey, so the first question I want to ask both of you is, what is the biggest change you want to make in your acting career? And Amy, I'm going to start off with you.
I don't know if I would necessarily call it a change, but I feel like particularly in this industry, it's always kind of a growth mindset. And where I am right now is because of all the work I've done up to this point. So I just want to keep going and really get to the next level. I do a lot of indie film work, which I've loved. The people in the films have been incredible. And I want to keep building on that to get up to the next level, eventually get to that A-lister status, because this is what I love doing, and I think I'm good at it. And I've had a lot of the support and the education and training to keep pushing me along, and really great people in my corner to collaborate with and get to meet people along the way through these different interviews, and just keep pushing each other and working towards our goals.
Absolutely. What about you, Jen?
Oh my goodness, I think Amy spoke so eloquently right there. I'm kind of a rookie to the game. I really I'm still putting the hard work in the backstory, even though I'm 50. I didn't get an opportunity because of certain life things, and yet now, I'm still here. It's a chance now, and I'm making so many great connections. I'm finding a beautiful network of supportive creatives that it makes me feel like I'm coming home. And so I think the next level for me is to continue to be a team player, to continue to learn and grow and meet beautiful people like you and Amy, and for us to continue to collaborate and bring something into being that wasn't there before, because that's the magic of what we do, right? And I just want to continue to make these connections. And so my next step is really easy. It's to continue with the one I had before, and to just be really excited and open and happy about these kind of connections, exactly like what's happening right now. So, I'll wait and see how it brings, and I'll just continue to put the work in. I'll continue to take classes. I'll continue to make friends. And I can't wait to someday, meet everybody in person. We can give each other a great hug and say, wasn't that a crazy adventure? And yet here we go forward, because we really are part of one community. So I don't know. I'm loving the journey, every bit of it. It's great.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. There's two things I want to talk about. First thing I want to promote is, if you want to add this to your calendar, you're more than welcome to. It makes it easier, but you don't have to. But June 10th, this June 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Oh, again, I had a brain fart. June 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern is going to be my 9-year anniversary, and I would love to have both of you with us for my 10-year anniversary before the whole Corona crap happened. And by the way, it's PG-13, so you can say anything you want, promote anything. So let me rephrase that. Before all the Corona shit happened, I was like, okay, 10-year anniversary. I'm going to have everyone who I ever interviewed come to this event. I'm going to have like a roasting and tell my story, and also take pictures with you guys, because people keep telling me about doing my damn book. And I'm like, do I really want to do a book? Because I don't know if I accomplish a lot. So I may do a two-parter. I may do like a small book, tell about my story, and later on in 20, 30 years do another book. But point is, 9-year anniversary, very special episode, June 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's a Friday. Will be online later on all social medias. But it's not about me, it's about the guests. And Jen, I want to ask you this question about stereotypes.
Okay.
Because you mentioned you got into this at a later point in your life.
Yes.
Do you feel that your age, and no disrespect by this,
No, that's
and
fine.
do you think your age plays a factor on people casting you for certain roles? And do you think it gives you an advantage?
Okay, that's an interesting combination of questions. Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, I'm 51, almost 52. I've earned every one of those years. I don't have any problem with that one. You know what I mean? It's like, and one of the things that my agent has told me is that the only thing I need to do is be a healthy 50-year-old woman and present myself that way. So to me, I actually appreciate that because I'm never going to be 30 again. My body doesn't say 30. You know what I mean? And yet, what I'm hearing in the subtitle of excuse me, the subtext is permission to act. Because nobody's wanting to watch you act; they want to watch you feel. Okay, so let me rephrase that. Permission to present characters. Coming from a 50-year-old actor, presenting it, so some characters don't have an expiration date. Like you can have a postal person, you can have I'm actually cast. I'm going to be an assistant medical examiner, and that's not age specific. So yes and no. I'm getting a lot of goodness. I'm very confused. I guess what you've got me down a little rabbit path. Yes, I'm going to say confirm that I'm getting specifically age specific roles like mom and aunt and teacher and things of that nature. And I feel like, but do I feel like I don't feel like it's a limitation because those are things I'm comfortable with because my life experience, like I am a mom, I am an aunt, I am a godmother. I am a good neighbor, I hope. I don't know. You'd have to ask my neighbors. I am these things. I'm a teacher. And so they're only asking me to then embody a character for which I already have past life experience. That said, my characters that I've been playing are mom who's off, like needs meds or needs off meds or something, And so there's still challenge even within my age appropriate range. I'm still being challenged to bring something else to the table. So yeah, I'm not going to be the mom of a 5-year-old, probably not going to be even given scripts to read for a role of a 5-year-old, 25-year-old there, 35-year-old there. So, I mean, there's room for all of us and there's room for me to be able to have all kinds of exciting characters. And so I don't know. I'm so just really looking forward to seeing what else comes because, psychopaths are any age, so I could still be that. You know what I mean? Like, there's still a lot of range. I do believe, I don't expect to ever be the vixen. I'm not going to be the sexy, I'm not going to be, luring anybody in. I don't think I could even pull that off. So I think knowing your own comfort range, knowing the characters you want to go, and finding that beautiful combination, and then just moving forward. So I just see open doors all the way, which was a lot. There's a long tail on that kite. Sorry, I was chatty. But I do feel more encouraged than discouraged.
Well,
and I'll shut up now.
No, it's fine. And one thing I would say, if you want to feel like you're in a horror movie, just go to New York City.
Oh my goodness. Oh, too much concrete, not enough trees. I don't think I could breathe,
No, I agree. For me, we need, not to sound political, but we can talk about anything, but I will give my 2 cents. We need mental institutions open and we need prisons open. Having someone standing on a bus with a freaking machete or a frame thrower, this isn't a Mad Max movie. We need, not to sound like Trump or anything, but we need to have some sanity because people being pushed in front of trains and all this other shit. And it's kind of like, when are you going to say enough is enough? As one one of my favorite wrestlers used to say, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. But not to talk about political things, that's completely up to you guys. But Amy, you are beautiful, and I want to ask you the next question. I'm a bad for it, I apologize. By the question, the reason I asked that, and this is for both of you, as a woman in the entertainment world, do you feel that there is a stigma and a stereotype that only women can be certain actresses and have certain roles? You know, Jen, you went first, but I would like to hear from Amy.
See, and I'm a newcomer to this whole thing. The person you need to talk to is Angela DeMarco. I tell you what, I mean, coming into the whole thing, I see changes. I see women like taking roles of power. I see things where we're all sitting at the same table, but that's probably because I'm the rookie. But maybe it's encouraging to say that as the newcomer at the table, I see things differently. Maybe hopeful. Maybe things will change. If you look at my friend list, are 9 out of 10 people in the industry male still? Yes. Do I see that changing? You betcha. I got so many friends that are studying things and they're progressing and everything. And I'm looking forward to the part where the sex category no longer is so much a part of the conversation. And we're just like going, you know what? But we're not there yet, but we're getting there. So I feel like there's strong progress being made, but I'm at the amateur end of it coming in. I'm not established. I haven't been there for decades. I haven't watched the whole thing. I'm the new kid at the table, but I feel empowered and encouraged, and I'm going to keep looking for that.
Absolutely. Now, actually, you brought up 2 points, but Amy, I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you restate your question? Actually, I wasn't sure if I understood it correctly.
Okay, so as a woman breaking into the entertainment world, do you think there's barriers and stereotypes that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome it? Actually, in a different way.
Not that I've encountered. I mean, there are roles for different genders, different ages, different types that are, more obvious, just kind of the natural type you portray. So I think there's such a wide range that I don't feel like I've ever encountered anything like that throughout the audition process. I think I've learned a lot along the way and have learned to ask the right questions, and that I'm really allowed to kind of stick with my rates and what I'm most comfortable with. And I don't need to feel like that's asking too much from someone, because that director, writer is my employer. And this is part of the business aspect. So even if I do have a manager or agent, I still feel like I want to have some control over that, and have needed and have over time developed that confidence to be like, well, this is how it is. No, I'm not comfortable with that. This I am. And I've never gotten any pushback or been in a situation where I felt like that hasn't been accepted or appreciated or become a conversation that we can work with. So wherever things are for everyone else, I know there have been some shitty experiences for some people in every industry. And, that's what we end up seeing a lot of, because that's what, news and social media like to portray. But I don't think it's like that in general. And I think, just like Jen said, if you have more of an optimistic outlook and we're creating these relationships and communicating with people, then you're going to continue to see more and more of that.
I agree. Now, the next one I want to ask you, actually 2 questions, but here's the first part. Have you ever walked into an audition? For people, for me, you have the first 10 seconds to make an impression on someone. Usually in the first 10 seconds, someone can size you up. Have both of you ever walked into a position for a job interview, for an audition, where that person automatically sized you up and say, I want you, Amy, to be a cheerleader, or, Jen, I want you to be a grandma. Did anyone ever like size you up just like that when you went into an audition? And Amy, I start with you.
Not for a first audition, but I have had more than one director that I've worked with multiple times where once I'm in that first role, that is how they see me. Like that character archetype. And if I'm going to be in something else with them, if the role breaks it too much, they're like, mm-mm, mm-mm. So that's really the only thing. But I've never gone into a room in a first meeting and had that experience where like, oh, you fit this only, or no, that's not going to work.
No, I agree. What about you, Jen?
I've been encouraged that I exude caregiver and that I exude things that nature, and that it's going to be a hard sell for me to be somebody who's outwardly vindictive or whatever. And what's really interesting is the two roles that I've played are people who are subvertly off, like quietly off, right? So caregiver on the outside, but then as you watch the show, you go, So even when they said that I exude a certain, warmth or whatever, when I've been booked, that has actually also been an advantage because my character takes a dark turn, but you're already, buying into my energy. So when I take the dialogue and the character that way, it's even more effective. So all I hear is, oh, you know what? You're really good at this. And I'm thinking, cool. That means I could be a sleeper cell and also be this. You find what you look for, right? So, I don't know. I'm still, and as far as Amy, my goodness, I can't imagine her not playing anything. She looks like she could just slip into about any role possible. And I mean, I really hope to see you in things. What is going on with you? Because you look like you really, I mean, your energy, your dynamic. I want to hear what she's doing.
Oh, thank you. Before I get to that, I did want to say, when you were answering the first question and talking about how you often get seen as mom, that's a little bit off, or that's what I get too. And I'm like, I'm a mom and a teacher. I mean, obviously like different age range, but that's so funny. They're like, you're the mom, but you're also like really stressed and you have a good heart, but you're also kind of awful.
Right. You're really kind, but you hate that neighbor. Tell us about that neighbor. And they're always wanting to like, ping, let's see you go off a little, please. Can we see you go off a little? And I think it's because we're nice and they love to see what you can bring on the dark side. So as far as what Keith was saying, it works for us, man. It's working for us.
For sure.
No, absolutely. And now, actually, I want to do something fun before asking the question. Amy, did you want to ask Jen any questions, or Jen, you want to ask Amy any questions? Because I want to be interactive.
Ooh. What's your dream role?
Okay. Do you remember, oh my goodness, what's her name? Okay, now see, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts. The facts of life, that's what it was. The facts of life. I had to do this song. I'm sorry, I was probably off tune and everything. But the gal in the facts of life, what was her name? Oh, come on, you guys, help me, please.
The redhead?
Yeah, Garrett. Edna Garrett. If I could be the new Edna Garrett for like a facts of life where you have, and I'm not talking about something that's like saccharine, but some kind of a cool new thing where we're actually engaging real stuff, but doing it in a cool way. You know what I mean? Where everybody is included. I don't care if you're 7 foot tall and purple. I'm going to love you. And we're going to work out for us all to have a community, right? I think that something like that, like, because I love comedy, right? And so anything where we could have comedy, or if we could have a new Golden Girls, you know what I mean? I mean, Betty White, bless your heart, I love you. I mean, something like that, anything like that, that's lighthearted, but humorous, but teaches us or reminds us to be good to each other. Anything like that. I mean, for real, somebody write me something. I'm here. I'd love for that. And everything. And I have a question for Amy, as when you get really nervous, because I'm still a rookie and I get in these situations, like I was really nervous coming into this because I'm talking to you as me, and that I'm a spaz, and I know that. But like when I have lines and stuff, I can be this character. I can drop into that, and she knows what she's saying, and she says, yeah. And when you get really nervous, Amy, what do you do to help get yourself calmed down? And how do you just kind of like turn the world off, because the world's pretty damn loud these days, and tune into your character and just like let everything else be? Do you have tricks? Do you have techniques? Do you have things that you just do? Do you have alphabet soup? I just really want to know.
Sure. Well, based on what you just said, I feel like we're a little bit opposite. I'm far more introverted, so and for film, I don't feel like I get nervous. I used to get nervous a little bit more for theater, but I've never had that experience, at least not the same way for film. But I know on set in my downtime, I can only interact with people for so long, because at a point that gets really draining for me. So I do yoga. I sit with my headphones in with nothing in. I just need to like close off in my own little space, read a book, and, you know, have my lines nearby and kind of settle in to my world, my space. So when I'm ready to go, it's, you know, it doesn't take any long to get back into this version of Amy with this particular backstory and these little points that have slightly changed that kind of emphasize one thing or another.
I so appreciate that concept of having your own bubble that you are in control of. I was recently in a film, and my character had the big reveal, and we're talking like intense dialogue, rolling tears, awkward dialogue, that kind of thing. And, you know, you show up and you're ready to go. And then because of just things that happen on set, it took 4.5 hours before it was time for me to film. Staying in that brittle mindset with keeping your lines that are essential to the continuity of everything present, keeping the emotions present, and yet suspended, was the hardest thing. They don't tell you about that part. You know what I mean? They just don't, you know? And so the understanding of keeping a bubble, keeping your own sphere that you control, having some music, having your own, like, you know, something that is within your control, I completely appreciate. And I absolutely, in the future, headphones, are you kidding me? I don't know why I didn't think about it, you know? I was sitting out there going,
anything, but once you have them in, people are like, oh, they're listening to something. They're busy. I'm like, no, I just need my
battery's dead, but you know, you'll leave me alone. I'll put them in anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, as actors, our work is in emotions and relationships, and even if we're not using like our own personal experience to kind of drive the emotion or the story that's happening, we're living in a very emotionally charged space.
Yes.
And we need to take the time to build up to that and then also come down for that. Yes. And there have been times where it is really difficult for me to do both of those things. And yeah, those little tools along the way definitely help, so we can give the best performance, so when people see it, they feel it, and they can see all of it in our face and in our eyes, and then we can also take care of ourselves afterwards.
I'm in therapy. I'm very happy to say that. I've been in therapy for years. I hope to be in therapy for years because it helps me. And she said that the best actors, and she has some pretty prominent names, have a broken empathy switch. I found that profound. A broken empathy switch. We bleed out. Anytime we hear or sense or perceive anything, we feel it, and we have to wrangle that in. We see something in the news. We have to be very careful about the news. We hear a story, and we don't just hear it. We don't just see it. We feel it. And she said it's broken, but it's also perfectly preserved because we need to bring our gift forward. You know, she's a good therapist, don't get me wrong. But the idea of having that switch that is always, we're always open is what I heard. Mm-hmm. We're open, we perceive. And then right now, especially in this day and age where people are so desperate and needful of escape, they want to see a program, they want to watch something, want to see something that's not real. We're being kind of called forward to do what we need to do because people need us more than ever. And that's the truth. And so, I mean, we're doing a good thing. We're contributing to the solution and not the problem. We're trying to participate and give forth light and love. I don't know. I think it's a good time to be an actor. It's a good time to be an artist.
No, absolutely. You know, it's happy that we do have 5 minutes left, but Jen, this is for both of you. I want both of you to be completely, brutally honest. When I first approached you to be on the show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And Jen, I will pass it over to you first.
Okay, I'll be brief because I've been already too gobbling up on the time. I was terrified because I knew that you'd be talking to me, and I'm more comfortable playing characters than I am necessarily presenting myself as me. However, there was something about your sincerity and the fact that I don't feel threatened by you. I do believe that you're trying to encourage and you're trying to help. I do think that we are part of the same tribe, as it were. I do think we're part of the same family. And so if I was seemed standoffish at first, it was just because I'm still nervous about presenting myself to the world. You know what I mean? Even as an actor, I was always quiet. I mean, I'm 50 years old. I didn't do these kinds of things before. This is all very new, a year new. My first interview like this. So it's intimidating, but I do think that we're all part of the same team. So I do appreciate the opportunity, and I do appreciate you being a new friend. And Amy, oh my gosh, I'll be cheering you on for the back of the house, girl.
Yay!
Absolutely. So thank you, Keith.
But how about you, Amy? Same exact question.
So this is the third interview I've done fairly recently. I think like this year. And honestly, I get more nervous for this than any of the film work that I've done. So really it comes down to my research / stalking. And if I think that I am gonna be comfortable and not asked a question where I'm like, oh my God, if I give a weird answer, is this gonna like freeze up? Right. Then I'll go for it. I mean, there's nothing to lose. And usually if it's just the little bit of nerves and not a something's off kind of cue, then it's just me needing to push myself past the things that naturally just make me a little bit nervous. But you passed the comfortability test of Amy, which is not always easy to do.
That being said, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to KeithAndrewNetWork. This will be played on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But until we meet again, it was a real honor and privilege having both of you as a guest, and I really appreciate this honor and privilege. So until we meet again.